Hello, I'm Alex Armstrong for GBN Originals. President Donald Trump has just made a move that will have serious consequences for thousands of former service members and for the way we think about government-issued mandates. So, what's happened? Well, Trump has signed an executive order, one of many by the way, that could see thousands of military personnel reinstated after they were discharged for refusing the COVID-19 vaccine. Yes, you heard that right. The President of the United States, former and now again President, the Republican President of the United States, has made good on his promise to sign that executive order. So let's break down what's been going on. Between 2021 and 2023, around 8,000 troops were discharged because they wouldn't take the COVID jab. This wasn't a choice for them. Many had religious or medical reasons and others simply just didn't trust the rolled out vaccine. Quite frankly, many people didn't take it in this country either. And we had similar conversations here in the UK. And yet, those military personnel were kicked out. They lost their benefits. They lost their salary. They lost their livelihoods. And then they were demonized and treated like second-class citizens in their own country. Now, Trump's order directs the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security to reinstate those service members to their former ranks. And crucially, it includes full back pay, benefits, and compensation. That is a really big deal. But here's where it gets interesting. This order doesn't just cover those who were formerly discharged. It also applies to those who have voluntarily left the military rather than take the COVID jab. That is significant, and that's because it also looks at those historical cases. And let's be honest, many of those people didn't actually leave voluntarily, did they? They were strong-armed into it by the Biden administration. They were told, take the shot or your career is over. And now they might just have a way back, and good for them, because there's a twist. At the very end of the executive order, there's a little line that says it doesn't create any legal enforceable right or benefit. So, in other words, this is a statement of intent, not a guarantee. So will these service members actually get justice, or is this more political posturing by the president? Well, that's where the legal battle comes in. This move from Trump is a bit like playing chess, and it comes days just after this major ruling in the Harkins versus United States lawsuit, a class action lawsuit filed by Coast Guard members who challenged the vaccine mandate. The US government, way back when, tried to get that case thrown out, but they failed. And that's huge because it means the courts are taking these challenges really seriously. It suggests there are real legal issues with how this mandate was enforced. And if the courts rule in favour of those service members, then this executive order could just be the start of something massive in America, a legal and political reckoning of the ages. Now let's be clear, the military has always had vaccine mandates, but the COVID-19 vaccine was different, wasn't it? It was rushed and it was heavily politicised, and it became a divided line in the way that previous vaccine mandates never were. And let's not forget, Joe Biden, the ex-president of the United States, has just pardoned the ex-health secretary, Dr. Fauci. He's the man who pushed these vaccines. He said they were safe in many cases, or alleged that they were. Well, anyway, while Trump is reinstating these members through his executive order, he's also banning transgender people from serving in the military. In a turn of events, Trump declared the armed forces have been afflicted with radical gender ideology. He claims that trans people are medically and morally unfit to serve in the military. He calls it a distraction from the defense of America. Well, as we reported here at GB News, there are approximately 15,000 trans people in the military, with a study in 2016 finding that there were at least 10,000. Now, there are around 2 million people who serve in the US military across all branches. That's massive compared to what we have here in the UK. So let's put that in perspective for a second. But Trump declared that the armed forces, with this radical gender ideology, has been afflicted to a point where it's stopping the effectiveness and the readiness of the American military. So let's just take a little look at what that order says. It says this: beyond the hormonal and surgical medical interventions involved, adoption of a gender identity inconsistent with an individual's sex conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honourable, truthful and disciplined lifestyle, even in one's personal life. A man's assertion that he is a woman and his requirement that others honour this falsehood is not consistent with the humility and selflessness required of a service member. The order equated being transgender to having a mental and physical illness, noting that mental and physical health conditions are incompatible with active duty, from conditions that require substantial medication or medical treatment to bipolar and related disorders, eating disorders, suicidality, and other psychiatric hospitalization. Well, inevitably, this has caused a huge stir with the public, especially among LGBT campaign groups, threatening, of course, to sue the president. Of course, just one other thing to bear in mind is that Trump also signed an executive order that said there are only 2 genders in the United States. So this is off the back of all of this stuff too. But let's hear what some of those campaign groups had to say. Lambda Legal and Human Rights campaigners said when speaking to The Independent, "We have been here before, and 7 years ago we were able to successfully block the earlier administration's effort to prevent patriotic, talented Americans from serving their country." Lambda Legal Counsel Sasha Buckert said, "Not only is such a move cruel, it compromises the safety and security of our country and is particularly dangerous and wrong. As we promised then, and we do now, we will sue." So what does all this mean for the military and what happens next? Well, for thousands of ex-military personnel, this could be a chance to rebuild their careers. But it's also a test of how committed Trump and the military leadership really are to undoing the damage done by those dangerous mandates. And let's not forget the political angle. This move is a clear signal to Trump's base. He's stating this is a breach of government and it's an overreach of government powers, standing up for those who were forced out of their jobs and making vaccine mandates a key election issue, as he did during the presidential campaign. And with recruitment challenges in the military right now, bringing back those experienced personnel could actually help. And what's certain is this: the fight over COVID mandates isn't over yet. This is about more than just the military. It's about government power, personal choice, and your accountability. And as legal challenges play out, we could see the effects far, far beyond what's going on here with the armed forces. And as for the thousands of transgender military members, they're not immediately banned from serving. However, the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security will now issue some reports. These reports will be focused on how the branches of military will be implementing this policy. Anyway, to stay tuned on this topic, make sure you subscribe to GB News' YouTube channel for the latest. Thank you for watching. I'm Alex Armstrong.